For those of you that haven't followed us in social media, here's some pretty awesome QR codes if you're interested in following us. And now I'm gonna open up to today's panel. A little bit of the logistics about the panel is that in the first 30 minutes of our panel, I have prepared some questions for our panelists. I will allow, first we're gonna do the introductions of all our panelists, and we will proceed with the questions. For each questions, about 2 to 3 panelists will give us an answer, and they will use either their name or the raise hand function to talk. But if you, as a participant, have an immediate question, you can also ask a question at any time in the panel. You can also use the raise hand, or you can use the chat to ask a question. Juan Valentin Goico is going to help me with the chat and the raise hand option. And to start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Gissell Sanchez, and I am the SACNAS Outreach Co-Chair. And I am happy to be here. My education, I'm originally from California. So I got my bachelor's degree in neuroscience from the University of California, Riverside. I worked as a technician for 2 years at the University of California, Irvine. And now I'm here, I'm a 3rd year PhD student in pharmacology. We'll start with Marilu, and then after Marilu, we'll go with Carmen, and then Ariana.
Hi everyone, so my name is Marilu Duque. I am a 2nd year master's student at the School of Information pursuing an MSI, which is Masters of Science and Information. My specific area of focus is data science and security. And I'm originally from Central Florida. And I guess something I enjoy outside of research, I like lock picking as like a sport, so yeah.
I quickly forgot to mention that each of our panelists will introduce themselves with their name, their year, their degree, and something they enjoy outside of science.
Okay, sorry about that. My mic was muted. Hi, my name is Carmen Varela. I am a 3rd year PhD student in the neuroscience graduate program. And I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas. I went to UTSA there, University of Texas in San Antonio. And something that I enjoy outside of research, I actually kind of discovered something new during COVID. And well, it's not new, but it's lay dormant for quite a while. But I enjoy fossil hunting. So I joined a fossil hunting group, and I found lots of cool things so far. Here in Michigan, we got lots of fossils. So yeah, that's about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Ariana Bueno. I'm a 2nd year in the Applied Physics program, PhD program, and I do my research in the Climate and Space Sciences and Engineering department. And I am originally from Miami. I was born in Ecuador, and my parents are Peruvian and Bolivian. So I always like to share my Latinx background. And something I like to do outside of research is probably paint. I paint a lot, so there's a couple of my paintings, and also hang out with my dogs and foster kittens. So always around animals. Thank you. Happy to be here today.
Hi everyone, I'm Caleb. I'm a 2nd year MD PhD student in the MSTP program at U of M. I grew up in Ann Arbor actually, been here basically my entire life, came here for college and then spent another year working in a lab at the Cancer Center before starting med school last year. And something I enjoy doing outside of research and school is play Ultimate Frisbee, which unfortunately we can't do right now.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Angie Shakya. I am a second year master's student in the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology department. I focus on coastal and marine science conservation. Let's see, I'm from California originally, did my undergrad at University of California, San Diego, and I took some time off before starting my master's here, which I think is a topic we'll talk about later. But outside of research, I just love being outdoors and exploring, especially with other people in my department. They can teach me a lot about different organisms just in a walk in the woods. So that's what I like doing.
Hey everybody, my name is Joanne. I use she, hers pronouns, and I'm a second year master's student in the Applied Math MOB program. I'm originally from the Bay Area in California. Something I like to do outside of research is I just bought myself a drum set. So now that I'm a little caught up on homework, I'm planning to play that soon and get better at that again. So nice to see y'all here today.
Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Rivera. I am a second year PhD student in the chemistry department. I am particularly in the inorganic cluster. I am originally from Puerto Rico, and one of the things that I love doing outside when I'm not in the lab, and also that I recently learned when during COVID, since that was one of the only things that we could do, I realized that I was actually a good runner. So that's been one of the best ways that I found to like just go into Ann Arbor and run around, and I've discovered like really awesome views around the city. So it's been quite an opportunity. And also, I'm he, him, his as my pronouns. So happy to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Jackie. I am also an MSTP or MD PhD trainee. I'm in the PhD phase of things right now. When you ask me my year, it's a little weird. So I actually entered the PIBS graduate program in 2015, and I joined the MSTP in 2016. So I've been here a while. I'm originally from California, so I'm from Los Angeles. I did my undergrad at UCLA, and something I enjoy to do, well, I'm pretty chill. I like to hang with my friends, but seeing as how the pandemic is kind of weird, I am still doing it, just socially distanced. But yeah, that's me.
Thank you to our panelists. I actually do want to give a shout out to Jackie, who started SACNAS here at Michigan and was the president, if it wasn't for 1 year. I'm not sure how many years you were president, but a big shout out to Jackie and thank you for being here. So now I would like our panelists to tell us about their pathway to graduate education. So please tell us in 1 or 2 minutes about your major and what do you do before entering grad school? Do you just came straight out from undergrad? Do you work? Do you do a prep program? How is that pathway for you? And let's start all the way back with Marilu.
So during, so I'm going to start from high school real quick because that kind of led me to grad school. In 2015, when I was graduating high school, I found out that I was a Gates Millennium Scholar, which is essentially a scholarship that pays your entire academic career, your bachelor's, master's, and PhD. So at that point, I knew I was going to do graduate school. I didn't know what it was, but I was like, it's free. I'm going to take it. So I went to undergrad at New York University School of Engineering, and I did integrated digital media, which is web development, user experience design, AR, VR, all the really pretty stuff of computer programming. And I found that I really wanted to get more into like why people use technology, how they use it, the ethics behind it. So I took some courses, did some internships doing research with the Marine Corps. I worked at other places, research libraries, just a bunch of different things that sometimes didn't even seem like they were connected at all, just because I wanted to learn the different aspects of technology before I kind of went deeper in one section. And then towards the end of my undergraduate career, I knew I was going to apply to graduate school. So I was looking at different programs, so cybersecurity programs, general computer science programs, user experience design, STEM education, just a wide variety. But I found myself really interested in Masters of Information at Michigan because they had all of those things combined into one. And one of the great things is that I could do a thesis and kind of focus it on what I want to do. So yeah, I decided to come to Michigan and essentially do the data science track they have, but I wanted to make it my own. So I'm incorporating some cybersecurity courses through the engineering school, some cybersecurity for future leader courses at the policy school, learning more technical pieces of machine learning and data science, and kind of making my own degree in a sense. And then in between, I'm doing research, working on my thesis, and I am a part-time intern. I was full-time during the summer, but now part-time for FireEye, which is a cybersecurity company that they work with, big businesses like Microsoft, Google, and then they work for government. I'm a cyber threat intelligence analyst there, intern. But yeah, I essentially wanted to do graduate school to kind of get a deeper dive into the subjects I was interested in. And I think I've been able to do that. I might apply to a PhD actually, because I love it so much. So excited to hear from everyone else, especially PhD students, because I love to hear your background.
Hi, Carmen here. So my path was kind of windy compared to some of the other people that I've heard. I actually graduated high school in 2003, so it's been a while. And I went directly to college. And I knew what I wanted to do in my mind. I wanted to study the brain and do research, but I didn't even know about the field of neuroscience. It wasn't a thing in my mind. I didn't know. So I thought, well, maybe if I go the psychology route, then I can do research on the brain that way. So my initial degree I got was a Bachelor of Arts in psychology and a minor in sociology. And so then I always had a desire to go and get a PhD. But when I got out of school, the options as far as like continuing education in that particular field weren't what I wanted to do. And so I didn't know kind of where to go from there. So I went into the workforce, and I was in the workforce for about 8 years. And I worked in the mental health field a lot. I worked in inpatient mental health hospitals, outpatient facilities. And then I tried different things. So then I went into being a teacher. And so I did that. I kind of tried the coordinating side, being a curricular coordinator and running some of the educational programs. And then I just finally, kind of by chance, I was watching TV and a show, and one of the people on there her job was a neuroscientist, and I was like, neuroscientist, that sounds like has to do with the brain. So I looked it up and discovered that field. I was like, oh, this is it. This is like what in my mind what I've wanted to do my whole life. So then I started immediately looking into PhD programs and realized quickly that I needed more science and math credits in order to get into the PhD program. And I also needed research experience. So I ended up going back to school and getting a second bachelor's degree in biology with a focus in neuroscience. And I got into a great program called the RISE program, the RISE Mark program. Some of you might be familiar, but that was amazing. Like honestly, that program was kind of what catapulted me into this. Like they just set up everything that I needed to get into PhD program. I'm very grateful for them. And then as soon as I finished my degree in 2018, I came here to University of Michigan, and I absolutely love it here. And I am happy doing what I do. I honestly can say that I really love doing research. Some people don't, but I really enjoy it. So I'm happy to be here.
Okay, my story is pretty, I think, simple. I think since I was young in high school, I knew I wanted to just keep learning. So I was always like, to me, it was like, yeah, I'll just get a doctorate. Like that was, and plus I would be Dr. Bueno. So I thought that was even, more of a reason to do it. But I finished, so I did my undergrad in Miami in Florida International University, and I did mechanical engineering and physics. So I double majored because I really liked both. And a lot of people think that mechanical engineering has like already physics, and physics is like incorporated into it, but it's very different. So I ended up doing both. And from there, I knew that I wanted to get a PhD, and I figured going straight into a PhD would be better for me because I wanted to just keep the ball rolling. So I applied straight to graduate school to a PhD program, and that's kind of why I picked applied physics, because it's a combination of both. And right before applying to graduate school, I did internships all throughout my undergrad. So I still did an internship before starting graduate school. So I kept going like straight to school, but I also did an internship right before. So I have a lot of like experience in the industry, and I definitely don't plan to stay like in academia. I want to go back to the industry, but I love research, and that's kind of what I did. So mine's pretty simple. I just went straight through because I really like it and I wanted to keep the ball rolling. I didn't want to stop. So that's my story.
Yeah, I think similar. My story on paper looks pretty simple. I went to the University of Michigan with a microbiology major. I did it mostly because I didn't really know what I wanted to major in, and I kind of knew I wanted to do medicine. Um, I joined a lab actually, a prostate cancer research lab pretty early on in my career in college. And at first I really hated it, and I thought I would never want to do research. And I knew that like scientists get paid like very little and had to work really long hours, especially like the postdoc years. So I was like, I'm never going to do this. But when I got to my junior and senior year, I kind of realized that I started really liking it. I started thinking that the lab was kind of like a playground for big kids, and we can kind of just build things and learn things. And I just realized I didn't really want to stop, but I knew I kind of had to stop if I did med school, which was my plan all along. But then the idea of the MD PhD program kind of came up, and it seemed like a great fit for me. I did take an extra year off after graduating from college to do research in that lab, because I felt like my application wasn't strong enough. But I mean, it ended up being a great year anyways, so I got to do a lot of cool research. So yeah, that's my story.
All right, so after undergrad, I took off about 4 years because I didn't know what I wanted to do. As an undergrad, I was a student athlete, and to be honest, I didn't think much about my future and the need to do research and gain experience. I was really just focused on my sport at the time. So looking back, it was a big regret that I didn't do, any types of pathways programs or anything like that. So after graduating, I did do a lot of unpaid internships, which I wish I didn't do at the time, but in my field, those are extremely common. In fact, you usually have to pay your way through your internship, which just seems opposite. But anyways, so I did that. And then I worked for a little bit for a state agency back in California. And I realized how much I loved it, but I wasn't going to be able to work up the ladder basically without a higher degree. So that's really what inspired me to go back to school.
Hey, so I went to college, basically just like not really knowing what graduate school was. Like, I feel like the only people I knew that went to graduate school was like maybe my teachers had to go to like more school in order to become a teacher, and like some of them had masters. So I kind of knew about that. But then like once I got to college, I was like, oh, like what are these like graduate students that are working with us doing here? And so like I joined the physics club because I was like a super nerd. when I was younger, and that's what I wanted to do with my free time. And it just happened to be like a super solid group of like people who were pretty much supportive in general. And so like one day after a meeting, we were just talking, and then they were talking about like how long do we want to go to school for, like what degrees did we want for what we wanted to do. And at that point I was like, like I've always loved learning, and like even though school is a bit stressful sometimes, I feel like it's an environment where I can learn what I want to. And so I like was talking about, maybe I'll get a master's. That's like kind of the next step. That was my understanding. And these people were like, for a lot of STEM fields, like actually PhDs are like fully funded, and that's kind of like the etiquette. And so when I heard that I could basically continue learning whatever I wanted to, and someone was gonna like pay for that so that I didn't have to worry about it anymore, it like pretty much was like sold to me. And so I looked into those programs, but I actually like received an offer for like a master's program here that was fully funded, and that's something that I didn't know about. And so I wish someone had told me that, like some schools may be able to offer that as an option too. But basically for me, it was like, if after 4 years, like I basically can't afford to like keep going to school, and so I would have to do something else. And knowing that there are opportunities like this is like basically why I decided to like take that chance. Sorry about the dog.
So I think my pathway was quite interesting. So when I got into undergrad, I started with chemistry. I was like 90% that I wanted to pursue medicine, so I wanted to do an MD. But upon my second year, where I took general biology, I understood that I hated biology with all my life, and I loved chemistry. And that's also the year when I started doing research. I started doing research in theoretical chemistry, and that was like a mind-blowing experience where I had the opportunity not to just do the research, but I went to a conference in order to share my research and talk with other people in with similar background. So that was like a really awesome experience. And after that, I got an opportunity to go to the University at Buffalo in order to do a different RU. And then from that moment, I realized that I was in love with what it is, energy research. And now what I do, it's electrochemistry. So essentially after that, the ball kept rolling. And from there, after coming back to Puerto Rico, I got into the RICE program, which that was like a catalyst in my education because it incentivized for me to go to different conferences, and that's how I became aware of SACNAS, because they took us to the SACNAS conference in order to present our research that we were doing back in our university. I also should mention that I come from the University of Puerto Rico, but I don't come from the main campus. So my campus was like a PUI. So in a PUI, what it means is primarily undergrad institution. So we don't have grad students or anything. So these experiences of going to other universities here in the US gave me the opportunity to like see what a graduate career would be like and understand if I pursue this career, what my life would look like. And it gave me a really positive environment in the research in a research career. And then I became passionate about through the RICE program, and I also was part of the LSAM program in Puerto Rico to engage with the community. So that gave me the opportunity to my goal, which is become a professor. So at that point, my next step in my career was going to be do grad school. So that's how it all came down to, yes, my next step, it's going to be grad school. And here I am.
So I think I gave you guys a little teaser in that my path has not been the most traditional. So um, I've been probably the primary caregiver for my family since I can remember. And so I wasn't really thinking about what I was going to do when I was in school. It was more like, I have to graduate. I need to get a good job. And, like all I really knew was people could become a doctor, or people could become like a teacher or something. And so I enjoyed my science classes. And so I was like, okay, I could do medicine. That seems really cool. And like, I already had that like sort of nurturing sort of, I want to help people. But because I didn't really have much direction, the easiest thing for me to do was to enroll to the local community college near me because I was still taking care of my brothers and sisters. And so it took me a minute to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. So after like 4 or 5 years after high school, I transferred from community college and I went to like 3, like in the LA district, like there are like 5 and you can take classes everywhere. So I did. And then I transferred to UCLA. And that was the first time that I had ever heard about research and really kind of started to understand what a PhD meant, which really kind of influenced where my path went. I think that was really pivotal for me because I started to do research. I started to interact with grad students and postdocs and faculty. And then I didn't give up on medicine because it also became really ingrained to me that that was something that I wanted to do. And so I actually took up a minor, gerontology, which I fell in love with. And, to this day, I am so grateful. So like my goal in life is to be a researcher who studies the biology of aging and also be a geriatrician and care for elders. And so all of that kind of came together in like the stumbly sort of way that I found myself. And so so I did research at UCLA and I had been in a lab for 3 years and I did pretty well, but I started to doubt if maybe I just got lucky. And so before even thinking about what would be next, I actually applied to a prep program, so a post-bac, which would give me an extra year where I would be getting paid to do research in a completely different institution. And I could also ask myself if aging really is something that I'm interested in, or am I just really interested in like these people and the work they're doing. And so that's what got me to Michigan from LA. And from then it just kind of, that it just became amazing. Like in that year, I met people who completely supported me and, encouraged me to apply to grad school and med school. And I did them both. So I applied to grad school in my prep year, and I applied to the MD PhD program in my first year of grad school because I didn't want to be the reason why I didn't do it. Like I was very, like imposter syndrome was so real. I was like, I am not gonna get into the program. I'm not gonna do well on the MCAT. No one's gonna want me. But at that point I was like, okay, let them tell me no. Let me stop telling me no. And thankfully no one said no. So here I am.
Well, thank you everybody for sharing your stories. I myself learned a couple things about different ways to pursue graduate education. Right now, I'm gonna start with the questions. And the first question that I'm gonna ask is, what inspired you to pursue graduate education? Which I guess everybody has already told us. What inspired you? If someone wants to add a very anecdotal or very interesting story, or something that really impactfully influence your decision, please raise your hand or just chime in the talk in the chat. Okay, Ariana, tell us.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add that even though I always knew I wanted to do graduate school, I think my internships also really solidified the fact that like I wanted to pursue a PhD, because of the fact that when I went into industry, I think especially when you do engineering, people just think it's like, oh, you just go to work. Like you finish your undergrad and you can go straight into work. And that's fine. That's completely an option. But I met a lot of like technical fellows that had PhDs, that did amazing research in these companies and weren't in like academia. Because every time you think of PhDs, you think that people are either like at a national lab or academia, but that it is something that exists in the industry as well. And that's something that really captivated me. I like the fact that I could work at a company doing really innovative research that can help people directly too. So that was really cool. And then the other thing was that because of my internship, I also like fell into my passion, which is space. And I figured out I wanted to be an astronaut, and I thought that that's something that would align really well with me getting a PhD as well. It's not a requirement, but if you don't have a PhD, you're almost like completely sifted out of like the whole application. So that was like one of my big thing that I decided I wanted to be an astronaut. To do that, the PhD was also going to be helpful for like that career path. So I think it was like, along with everything else, I found that that's really what I wanted to do. So I think like what I'm trying to say is internships help you also decide that. So that's just a little shout out to internships.
I think you, Kevin, had something to share with us.
Yeah, so I was gonna go in similar to what Ariana just mentioned. That the path towards PhD, it doesn't necessarily has to be a straight line. Like throughout my experiences that I went to different universities for undergrad summer research experience, I was able to understand what I liked and what I didn't like, because essentially those opportunities give you a good way to grasp on that research, and whether if you would like to continue into that particular field. And so I think those opportunities for undergraduates are like the are a key thing that give you a quick grasp on the field and things you would be doing, and if you would like to pursue your career in a PhD in that area.
Yeah, if I could just add quick,
Yes.
I forgot to mention, so I was part of MARC at UCLA too. And so just like the RISE program, like getting involved and like getting people together, especially like some of my best mentors are advocates that were, you know, they were my old mentors from MARC or something like that, or my peers from MARC. And so like being involved in those sort of organizations, like I am much more, I'm like more of a scientist now because of those experiences than I ever would have been. Like it was, you know, I found out about SACNAS through MARC and through like the chapter there, and just like exposing yourself to like doing something outside the box, like presenting research or even just going to a conference and seeing other people present their research, especially people who look like you, which is not the norm when you're taking all these classes with all these people. And it's like, yeah, just like allowing yourself to be open to all these things and opportunities is really important.
Okay, we can continue to the next question, which is, what things do you consider when applying to different programs or universities?
I can jump in real quick.
Oh,
Oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
was someone else talking?
Caleb, then Carmen.
Okay. So I guess since I had to apply for both medical school and also grad school at the same time, I think the number one thing that I was looking for was like the students were happy doing what they were doing. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but ultimately, like I think like that's really the most important thing to do, because when you're in grad school, or med school or both, you're there for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And just being there, like the people there or the environment, the faculty, all of that, I think like you really need to be happy and enjoy what you're doing to succeed.
I know that Jackie, I know that I said Carmen after, but I know Jackie, since you guys are both on the PhD, maybe you can just comment to Caleb's answer.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, that's the reason why I'm here. Like, if it weren't for the people, like, I would not be here. But when I was applying, because I obviously didn't know the people, like, I still had to apply first. I ranked it based on the study that I was interested in, which is biology of aging. And so, like, that's not like super huge. So, like, if you're like interested in cancer, maybe it's a little, more broad. But for me, it was like I was able to come up with like a list of 6 schools, and then I interviewed there. And then going off of Caleb's point, like I saw some grad students who looked miserable, and I'm like, okay, that's like a huge red flag. Like the PIs were like super happy, but it was the grad students who were like, nah. And so like you have to pick up on that. And I think that's a really big thing. And then just kind of, I don't know, envisioning yourself there. Like, can you spend, like maybe 4 years doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it is still a significant amount of time. And then, up to 8 years, like that's a huge chunk of your life. So you want to make sure that you see yourself there, because it's not just a job, right? Like this is what you want, hopefully.
Carmen?
Yeah, so everything they said, but just for me in particular, I don't know if anybody else has families or kids or significant others or anything like that, but for me, that was the situation. And so I not only had to think about, what place was right for me, but I had to think about a place that would be right for them as well. So I had to look into schools for the kids, and I had to look into whether there would be jobs available for my husband. And so that was a whole another set of concerns that I had to deal with when, and also we had to think about cost of living. So basically any of the California schools were out for us because we couldn't make it on a grad school income and, a family of 4. So it was another thing to consider altogether. But yeah, definitely. So I kind of had narrowed it down to all the things that not only tick my criteria for academics and research, and but also for my family as well. And then once I interviewed at different places and I saw, the people there and found, where I felt at home. And so that's definitely why I chose U of M, because I felt immediately at home here with the people. So.
Kevin, you had a quick comment?
Yes, so I was gonna mention one of the things that helped me throughout selecting schools is like throughout the process to get a list of the schools that you would like to apply, and then from there you can, a really important thing is to look for schools where you have more than 3 options or 2 or 3 options for professors, because one of the, I mean, it's a reality. Sometimes you might not go into what would be your first option or your second. So it's a really good thing to have a broad list of professors and research areas that you would like to work in, because that will give you a flexibility on things that might go the way you want, or it might not go the way that you were expecting. And if you're still happy with your decision, that is what will be the best at the end.
Thank you, Kevin. That's I was actually going to add that looking into the research to the professors and the research that they have to offer, it's actually one thing that I looked into when applying to schools. Thank you, Kevin. The next question will be, do you have to take a standardized test to enter your program? And I asked this question, and I would like to hear from Caleb and Jackie, because you guys are doing what you will think it's a dual degree. So do you have to take both exams?
So you really only need to take the MCAT. Even if you, so like, even though there's no GRE requirement at Michigan anymore, if the GRE requirement existed, they wouldn't obligate you to take the GRE because you've already taken the MCAT, so like it, like I guess covers it. I am the weirdo who applied to grad school first, and this was before they got rid of the GRE. So yes, I took both the GRE and the MCAT. But you know, I'm also a masochist, so.
Caleb, do you have to take the MCAT and GRE, or do you take the MCAT only?
Yeah, because I came from the other side where I wanted to do medicine before research, so I just took the MCAT and that was good enough, luckily. So I'm sorry, Jacqueline, that sucks.
I do have a quick question then. Do you guys know if only MCAT is something about here at the University of Michigan, or there's other universities or institutions that still ask you or will require you both?
I wasn't sure if
think
was gonna
I
talk.
think most MSTPs will just take MCAT only.
Okay, cool, thank you. So the other people that I would like to ask this question is the master's students, because I think I heard that some master programs will ask you for a standardized test depending on your field, and some others will not. So could the master students chime in a little bit with this?
I can go. So for the School of Information, they actually recently took off the GRE, I think for all students, or that might have been for the PhD in information. But regardless, they don't require the GRE as long as you have an undergrad GPA of 3.0 or higher. So that really made me want to come here because I'm not good at standardized testing. From SAT, ACT, that's not it for me. But I did take the GRE for other schools. It's probably why I didn't get in some of them. Yeah, but so yeah, some of them aren't required more. I know I've seen a lot because due to COVID and testing being an issue, a lot of people are no longer requiring it. So if you're not a test taker, this might be the time to apply. But yeah, GRE is trash.
I think a lot of us will agree with that. But what about Angie and Joanne? Do you have to take a standardized test?
Yeah, I could say a little bit about that. Sorry, I lost my internet connection, so I'm on my phone now. But for pure math programs, which is what I was applying to initially, most of those programs, both the master's and PhD, required the GRE subject test. But for the applied math programs that I looked into, a lot of those actually didn't require the math GRE, just because I guess the way that you approach it is different. And so they said that, you know, if you had a subject test in a related science that you're hoping to work in, like that would look great for your application if you got a score, but it wasn't required for that. So that was pretty cool.
Angie?
Yeah, for me, when I applied, GRE was required at all the schools I applied to. Some of them I had to take the biology subject tests for, but now I'm seeing it's very common, like others mentioned, that it's not required anymore. So hopefully if I continue on to do a PhD, I don't need to retake it. I don't know how that works, but it's been 5 years since I've taken it. And that was a big thing that deterred me from even going to grad school, was a GRE. So I'm really glad they're phasing it out, hopefully, and it will be a thing of the past, because I don't want anyone to have to suffer through that.
Oh, Gissell, I think Jackie has her hand raised.
Oh, I think it got stuck that way.
Okay, all right.
But I did want to ask Kevin about, so I'm not sure if our participants here are coming from either Puerto Rico or out of this country, but I know that another test that some schools will ask is a TOEFL. Is that correct, Kevin?
So yes, and that was kind of an issue throughout my whole application process because some schools required it, but as in right now, U of M still require for Puerto Rican students, but you can get the departments to waive it and then contact directly RACM in order to remove that requirement from your application. But there's still some schools who required it, required the test, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't apply to those schools, because I was not up for taking that test because I am a US citizen and I believe that was not something they should test me in because my classes are in English, and but even though the language in Puerto Rico it's primarily Spanish, but I believe that was an insult making them asking me to take the test.
Yeah. So I know that we are kind of like at 6:23, and I still want to let participants ask questions. So right now I'm gonna ask the participants, do you have any specific questions to a panelist or just a general question? Okay, I have a lot more questions, to be honest with you guys. So just to close our
Oh, Giselle, we have a question in the.
yeah, I just noticed it.
Yeah.
Do the people, oh, sorry, close down. Christopher Ayala is asking, do the people who took time off regret taking time off? Caleb.
No, not at all. I regret not taking more time off actually. 'Cause I feel like once you kind of start your career after grad school, it's kind of nonstop after that. And so I think it's really good to spend the time after college doing whatever you want. And I know it's different for every single person, but for me, I kind of wish I had took a little bit more time off.
Carmen, do you have something to say? Because I know I don't know if you consider taking time off because
Yeah.
you did a lot in those years.
It wasn't an intentional taking time off. I don't think so. Actually, no, because I thought about that. Like, if I had gone straight from then, I don't think I would have made it into PhD because I knew nothing about, I didn't even know that people did research in colleges. Like, I didn't even know there was like labs where people did, like nothing. I knew nothing. Nobody in my family had gone to college before me. There was nothing, especially not in the sciences. There was no guidance whatsoever. So, and I had very small children at the time, so I wouldn't have, there would have been no way for me to go to a like PhD program and made it out alive. So no, and I think that even though my path was a little windy and I tried different careers and stuff, I think I learned a lot of really valuable skills from that can be directly applied to you know, a career in science, because I learned, you know, business management and stuff, you know, and those, if I run a lab one day, I'm going to have to know about budgeting. I'm going to have to know about managing people. So those kind of things, even though they weren't directly related to science or a career in research, they're still valuable skills that can be learned. So yeah, I don't have any regrets. I think everything happens the way it's supposed to. So yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions from the participants? Well, I would like to ask the panelists, I know the time is a little bit constrained, but 2 or 3 panelists to tell us what will be the best advice you could give to someone working on their application for graduate school? Kevin.
Okay, so I think one of the best things I learned throughout the whole application process, and if I had to tell the advice to someone, is to create a support group throughout the whole application. Get a group of friends, professors, people you trust who will be able to help throughout the whole application process, because the whole application package can a little bit be overwhelming. You have to write diversity statements, you have to write your personal statement, and you want people who are able to look at it in a critical way and evaluate and help you throughout the whole process. You want friends that are willing and honest with you and tell you if it's how can you improve it, how can you make your application package more appealing to grad school. So when you are applying, you're just not another person who's applying. You make yourself stand out in the pool of people who are also applying. So I think the best way is to get a good support group throughout the whole application process, and also do it with time.
Yeah. Before someone else, I'm gonna let Ariana talk, but I want to quickly mention that we, SACNAS, are planning to launch a mentoring program for undergrads and prep students who are planning to apply for grad school this upcoming application process. So if you want to know more about this mentoring program, please stay on the chat. Go ahead, Ariana.
Yeah, so I think my biggest advice, and it's something I learned more when I was already selecting schools, but it's definitely that don't like mold into the school. Don't try to be what the school wants you to be. Like, look for the school that aligns with you the most. And I think it's also a lot with the fact that you're not just a scientist, you're a person, like, and your entire like everything that you like doing, not just your science, should be considered and should be in your application, because you want a school to want you for who you are, not just that you're a good student on paper. And I think like that's really the schools you should go for, the ones that care about who you are. And I think that's one of the reasons why I picked this university, because I really liked the program, but I had no real connection with my advisor. I didn't think they really cared about me. It was like, oh, you have really good experience, so we can use you. And I didn't like that. And my department chair here found out that I paint, and he's like, wow, that's really awesome. You should paint a mural in our school. And like, he really cared about me, like who I was as a human being, not just that I am like good at what I do. So my thing is just, and everyone gets so caught up with like the GRE, how smart are you, how good did you do your on your test, like how good was your GPA, but at the end of the day, that doesn't say like about who you are. So go for the schools that don't ask for GREs, that care about who you are, that focus a lot about your interests and your goals as a person in life, because that's what matters the most. It's not whether you go to like a super great Ivy League school that makes you pay like $100 just to apply to the school, just to be like, sorry, you don't meet our requirements, and just not even care about who you are. So I mean, I sound a little shady, but it's like really just trying to say like, don't mold into this like perfect applicant, be who you are and find the school that wants that. Because I think that that's like what made me like finally pick this university.
I think we have a couple people. Everybody wants to talk about it, and I will let whoever wants to talk about it. Jackie, I know that you raised your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, especially for anyone who's interested in MD, PhD, like really make sure that you have kind of like a good story to tell, like why, you know, like everyone's going to ask you, why is it that you want to do MD? Why is it that you want to do PhD? Why do you need it together? And that's going to be true when you're writing the statement, when you're in the interviews, when you're talking to the people like the PIs, and you're always going to need to have an answer to that. And I think it starts with asking yourself why you want to do that, and then you'll find like the holes, if there are any, that you need to fill. Like, do I even know that I really want to do research forever? Like, do I have enough experience? Things like that. So really make sure that like you're checking in with yourself, but you can also articulate what your goals are and how this is going to help you reach your goals, and how they, like exactly what Ariana was saying, like it's not just that, like it's not just one person finding the fit. It's like, how are you both going to, elevate yourselves to like this level just by being who you are and what you want. So I just wanted to add that.
I think, Carmen, you have something quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a quick thing regarding fee waivers. I don't know if anybody, you guys know, but there are a lot of fee waivers available. Many schools will give fee waivers for minority students. Like I applied, I think, to maybe like 10 different schools, and I didn't have to pay for any of them. I got fee waivers for all of them. And one of the main places that I scored all my fee waivers was by actually going to the SACNAS conference and going to the grad fair booths, and just talking to the schools that you're interested in. I know it's COVID and you maybe can't do that right now, but maybe they'll have a virtual grad fair thing where you can go to the schools you're interested in. And usually when you go talk to them and tell them, hey, I'm interested in your program, or I'm interested in this professor in this program, they'll put you on their email list. And then when it comes time to apply, they usually will give out fee waivers. So you can be like, oh, I talked to so-and-so and they mentioned a fee waiver. And I would always ask, like, do you guys offer fee waivers? And so that was super helpful because I didn't have, $2,000 to like spend on applying to grad school. So yeah, definitely take advantage of that, because there's stuff out there that can help you.
Thank you. Yes, that's something I was going to mention, but thank you for mentioning it, Carmen. I want to answer, who was it? Oh, Tasman, for my answer to Miguel. So this mentoring program that I just mentioned, we are considering this year to be a pilot. And if we are successful with this first year's mentoring program, we plan to continue it. And right now it is mostly open to people looking into PhDs in more like biomedical. I'm gonna be honest with you guys that I have to look at which schools or which fields their applications are in December. But pretty much for those applications due in December. And okay, I'm going to conclude our panel. I still want to highlight that the people interested in the mentoring program, please stay with me just 5 more minutes. I will just like to explain it a little bit to you. I would like to thank again our panelists. I think I learned a lot about the other different fields in STEM, and I'm really glad to see the diversity that you guys represent in your fields. And to show our gratitude, Tasmin will help us to get you some goodies, a gift card. Is that right, Tasmin?
Yeah, definitely. So we appreciate you taking your time being here, and we know how busy you are, and we're so grateful. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Caleb.